Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Flourish and Thrive, the podcast. I'm Alice.
And I'm Emily.
And we are here on a journey leveling up into our best versions of ourselves.
Just trying to become the best versions of what we possibly can.
And we would love if you would join us on this journey. Let's all level up together.
I think, as you can tell, this is our first episode. So we are testing it out. We're testing the waters.
Yeah.
Seeing how the podcasting situation's going to go.
Yeah, we've already faced our first minor setback, but we didn't let it stop us.
We are recording on one mic right now.
Yeah.
So.
One very tiny mic that is definitely not meant for two people. But we're making it work.
We're not going to let that stop us. We're going to push through. This is something we've been talking about for a little while.
We're talking about not waiting to feel ready to start something. Because if we had let that stop us, then
this podcast would have never been born.
I know. We would have pushed it further and further back.
I wanted to put a little disclaimer out there that we are not professionals. We are just two girls living in London, wanting to make the most of, discovering ourselves, feeling better about ourselves, not letting London stress get us down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so easy to just the longer you stay in a big city like London, to let that chaotic energy just kind of beat you down gradually, but there's little things we can do to counteract that, and we're on a journey of discovering it as well.
We're trying to make the most of our situation here, and we're just trying to feel in a better, more positive mindset. That's why we decided to call the podcast Flourish and Thrive.
Yeah.
Because it's we're trying to flourish, we're trying to thrive in our lives, and that's just what we want. We're in our 20s, come join us on this journey.
Yes.
So I think what we wanted to talk about is, because both of us have been on this journey, and we've got so much to say, but I think something that's happened to us both recently is the idea of dating yourself, which is such a odd thing. What would you describe it as? What would you say is the key part to it, I guess?
Well, so I read a book. This is what kind of sparked it all for me. I read a book called Alonement by Francesca Spector.
Oh, I need to read that.
Yeah, I read that book, and it's all about the importance of spending time by yourself. Even whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, everyone can benefit from it. And a lot of people don't know how to enjoy their own company. But it's, if you think about it, it's kind of the most important relationship you'll ever have in your life, because it's the longest relationship you'll ever have.
Yeah.
And no one's ever going to really know you as well as you know yourself. And I think that's really cool.
True.
So it's really important to nourish that relationship, nurture that relationship with yourself.
Yeah. It's all about how you speak to your own mind as well. I know we can all get really het up and caught up in how we speak to ourselves, and people could be so down on themselves. You can look in the mirror and be ugh, I've got a spot here, and I just feeling so ugly about myself. But you've got to really nurture that relationship with yourself, where you're looking at it from a sense you've got a spot there, but oh, look at you, you've got that contour going today, honey.
Yeah.
You've just got to have that new vision with your own, with the way you speak to yourself, basically.
Yeah, because we all have that inner critic, and so I think that's just a part of being human. I mean, we can talk about the ego in another episode, but
yeah, that's definitely one for a future episode.
Yeah, it's important to just sort of notice that and
be the
not judge. Yeah, be the watcher, not judge it, but just sort of try and start to create those new ways of thinking where you enjoy spending time with your own thoughts. Because I think a lot of people I've spoken to who are massive extroverts, you probably know who I'm talking about, have said, I could never spend time, I can't even be in my flat on my own without having the TV on, because I don't like being alone with my thoughts.
That's crazy.
And I think a lot of people are like that, on either on a conscious level or on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
They just don't want to. It's either they're bored by their thoughts, or they're scared of what they'll find, or there's something they've been suppressing. But until you really take the time to get to know yourself.
Yeah, like you said, it's the most important relationship you're ever going to have.
Yeah.
It's so important that you nurture yourself and how you feel about yourself. Do you want to talk about your solo day? Because that really inspired me. You had your solo day, and then I did my own solo day, and this was something I'd never done before. It was going on a first date with myself.
Yes! Oh my
gosh!
It
was so weird, and I was thinking this is the most important first date I'm ever going to have.
That's so true. I love that.
It was so weird.
Yeah. So this journey for me started a year ago, when I did my first ever solo trip to Lisbon, which I absolutely loved, and it felt so scary. I'd just come out of a situationship
Situationship.
relationship. That's a whole other episode. I don't know.
We're going to do a whole... We have so many ideas for episodes, guys. Like, you have no idea.
There's a lot. There's a whole list. There's a list of like 100 ideas on our notes app.
We have a joint note. It's very cute.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd just come out of that, so I was not used to spending time on my own, and it felt very, very uncomfortable at first, but like how it just builds your confidence so much to like prove that you can do everything by yourself, and that you can sit with the feelings of discomfort and you don't die from feeling uncomfortable. You know, sitting, going out to a restaurant on your own.
I haven't done that yet, but...
Yeah, I mean, it feels scary at first. It really does, because there's all this like narrative going through your head that's like, oh my god, everyone's looking at me, everyone thinks I've been stood up, everyone thinks what a loser going out on her own, and your mind will start to pick out, oh, all those couples, they look so happy together, and that group of friends having the best time, but actually your mind is just picking out
the
what
negative
it wants to see. Yeah,
and the negative, like I was saying earlier, you just have to reprogram your mind to be like, oh no, they're probably thinking like, oh, look at that girl, like I wonder what she's doing there. Like if you take, because what I found, if I ever go to a coffee shop, like I'll go and take a book, like because then it's just nicer to not have something that you could just like focus on and be like, have that thing there. And I just think people will probably be thinking like, oh, what's she reading? Because I know I think about that about other people when I see them on the tube. I'm like, oh, what are they reading? Like this is quite cool.
Yeah, like when I see a girl on her own, like living her best life, I'm like, oh my god, such main
be
character
you.
energy. Yeah, like I love that confidence. Like it really like hypes me up. So yeah, that was a steep learning curve for me. It was very uncomfortable at first, but sitting with that discomfort and pushing through it, you get so much out of it the other side. Like when I came home, I remember on the plane home from Lisbon, I was journaling and I was like, I have never felt this confident. I feel like I could do anything because I navigated the airport on my own. I went on the plane on my own, which we both are a big fan of flying.
I think we'll talk about anxiety and things like that for sure.
Yeah,
we definitely need to have a talk about that, because that's a whole,
it's a whole thing.
situ.
Yeah, just proving to yourself that anything that you might want to do with another person, you can give that to yourself. Like the love languages, you can do all of that for yourself. Like, do you have a love language?
Yeah, do you know what your love languages are?
I think I'm a bit of all of it, to be honest. I definitely, words of affirmation, I think, is my biggest one. Like, you're doing great, I'm proud of you. I mean, that just
that's
different.
Like, so that, because apparently you receive and you give out and you receive different love languages. So I know for me, so I did a test online with it, and it literally said that I give acts of service.
Oh, really?
So acts of service is my key. So for anyone who's not aware, acts of service is like, a lot of people may think like, oh, it's like someone doing something for me. They have to do everything for me. But it's not quite as intense as that. It's like if someone say for example, I said to my significant other like, oh, I need to get some milk. Like, oh, I forgot to get milk at the grocery store. Like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Grocery store? Who do I think I am? American.
Supermarket.
At the shop, I forgot to get some milk. It's like them just remembering to be like, oh, I'm going to go grab some milk for you. And just that little act of service is exactly what I need to feel appreciated. Like, that's how someone will get. And that's also what I supposedly give out. I think it's also... gifts. I don't know what the actual term is.
Oh, shall we say, okay, if anyone isn't aware of the love languages,
there's 5 of them.
There are 5. So there are words of affirmation, which I love.
That's Alice's one.
Quality time, so just spending time with the person that you love. It doesn't have to be your significant other. It could be a friend, it could be a parent, it could be yourself, like we're talking about now. So yeah, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, gifts, and acts of service are the 5.
Yeah. So yeah, mine is gifts and acts of service, which again, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a gift, like a Louis Vuitton bag or something. It can literally be like someone remembering to go grab me a chocolate bar from the shop. Like it's those little things where it's like, oh, they went somewhere out of their way just to think of like you, and like you can do that for yourself. Like I know for me, I've been going on these like little solo dates with myself to these like, I've been obsessed with my smoothies recently.
Oh yes,
like I am
the
on
smoothie
the
TikToks.
Smoothie trend. There's an amazing smoothie place in London, and it does like these dupes of these like American smoothies, and they are so good. And I took myself like on a little solo day there, and it was just so nice to like spend time with myself, grabbing that smoothie and just you don't have to be with someone to do certain things, which is just such a nice feeling.
Yeah. There's so many people who kind of like wait for another person to be with them before they can do something. Like, oh, I really want to go to this concert, but none of my friends are into this singer. Like, I went to my first solo concert last November, and yeah, like I said, it felt a bit uncomfortable, but like, I wouldn't have gone to that concert if I'd have waited around for someone else to come with me, because no one else
wanted to go.
So like, why was I going to let that stop me? Like, I wanted to go. Like, and also, you don't really talk to someone in a concert anyway.
No, exactly.
So yeah, it's about like, you deserve to experience those things whether there's someone there or not. And in fact, I find, and I don't know if this is just because I'm a bit of an introvert, but no, I guess not. I find that like, I often enjoy experiences more solo. It did certain experiences, like it's obviously lovely to spend time with people, and I love that as well, but when I was on my solo trip, I definitely took it in way more than I would have if I had been with someone else, because I would have been wondering, are they okay, are they having a good time? I would be thinking about how to keep the conversation going. And
sometimes you want to have like, you have that situation where you're on holiday with someone and you're like, oh, like they want to do this but I want to do that, and it's like you don't have that when you're on your own. It's like you do what you want to do, and you just go for it.
It's
like
brilliant.
It's so good. Like, I've not done a solo trip yet, but Alice is inspiring me to do this, because I have done a solo trip. I've never thought about it. I went to Brighton on my own.
Yeah, that
was so good. Like, because I literally was like, Alice and I grew up watching like YouTubers. We were like the YouTube gals, like in our school. We were those cringy YouTube girlies, but like we loved it and it was fine. So obviously some of the biggest like YouTube people live in Brighton. I had never been to Brighton. It's only like an hour away on the train, would you say? Like, not far. And I'd never been. I was like, I really want to go. I had these couple of days off work, wasn't doing anything. And it was like a Monday and a Tuesday, and I went down on the Sunday night and I stayed for one night and then had like the Tuesday back at home. But it was just so nice because I literally went there. I stayed at like the artist's residence, which is like, it was one of the hottest days of the year as well last year. But it was just so nice to spend that time. I literally went and sat on the beach, watched the sunset. I have like thousands of photos on my phone of like the sunset. It's crazy. I'm such a sucker for a sunset.
Yeah,
but just to sit there like by myself and experience that by myself and going to the places that I wanted to go to without worrying about what someone else wanted to do. Like, they could have gone to Brighton and be like, oh, I really want to spend loads of time on the pier. I found the pier really stressful. I walked through it and I was like, chaotic for sure is the word. And I was just like, this is like, I didn't spend that much time there. I went and saw it. It was fine. It was beautiful. But I was like, just doing what I wanted to do. I literally just sat on the beach with my fish and chips and it was lovely.
I love that for you.
It was so good.
Yeah, not having to compromise is like one of the best things about doing solo dating. Like, when I went to Lisbon, I'm sorry to keep bringing it back to me, but I went to the beach, and then a couple of days later I was like, I'm just going to spend another day at the beach. But like, if I'd have been with another person, they would have been like, oh, we've already been to the beach, let's do something else. Actually, I don't have to compromise. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, and it's like, another thing about dating yourself is that, like, because there's no one else there, you can fully be in the present moment. I always say it's like there's no filter between you and the present moment, because, you know, there's no one else there to think about. You don't have to worry about anyone else and how they're experiencing it or anything. It's just you and the moment in front of you. And it's wonderful.
That's such a huge thing, like being so in the now. Like, Alice introduced me to this book and we think everybody should read it. It's called The Power of Now. It's very spiritual. I think we could do an entire podcast episode on this. And we probably will. But like, it very much talks about the now and the present moment, and it's just like nothing else. Like, you can't be certain of anything else. Like, the future is happened, but that's your version of the future. Like, how you're thinking about it. Like, someone could have a completely different setup of how they thought that moment went.
Yeah.
But the only thing you can be like completely focused on is now, and that's just such like, it cured yours and my would you say anxiety?
Like, for sure.
Like, I now, whenever I start to like panic or overthink at work, I'm like, no, like, I am only creating these situations in my head about the future moment, and it's like that probably couldn't even happen.
Just that's one of my favorite things about dating yourself, is just being so fully in the moment and not missing anything. You can like notice more things as well, like when I go out for dinner on my own or wherever I am. I bring a book like you, but I do like to challenge myself to just sit and observe. And I don't mean like staring at one person, like,
I love people watching.
People watching, and just like
so
noticing,
nice.
just like, you know, a little kid like laughing or something, just anything, little tender moments between like friends having a great time or whatever. You can just notice it all. And just like, just the buzz of a cafe, you notice it more. And like how the food tastes, everything feels richer because you're so fully present and you're not having to think about anyone else who's with you and how they're experiencing it.
I love that. I've never thought of that like perspective of it before.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
You're just like an observer of the moment.
Yeah, because I know I do tend to like shove my headphones in and be like completely shut off from the world, but like actually just sitting observing, like I love people watching, like I love sitting there and I love watching people's experiences. Like it's so cute, like you know that scene in Love Actually at like the very beginning where it's like, I love going to Heathrow Airport and Love Actually is all around and he's like observing all these people, but like you can go do that in your day-to-day as well. And it's just so sweet. I love that. No, that's such a good perspective on it.
Yeah. So tell me how your first solo date went.
So my first date with myself, it's so funny because I copped out. So you know when you're like going on a date with a guy or like whatever, you're like, you know when you, what is it? So we used to go to the cinema all the time as kids. Like we used to go see all the Harry Potter movies when they came out.
And the Twilight films.
Alice and I were low-key too obsessed with Twilight.
We used to like actually low-key, high-key fall out over who was going to marry Edward Cullen. Like it got quite heated.
Like we had obsessions. Like I changed my middle name on Facebook to Bella.
Oh my
God. That, do you remember that time? Like we were obsessed. Anyway. Sidetrack. We used to go to the cinema all the time. We would do like these cinema trips all the time, and we would always say like as a first date, going to the cinema is a bit of a cop-out. Like I feel like that's like something we would always do. So like I kind of copped out on my first date by going to the cinema by myself, but it's fine because I really enjoyed that like time on my own. And to be honest, what I realized is there were also two people either side of me who were on their own.
Love that.
Which was so like, I was like going there like seeing all these like mums. I watched The Little Mermaid, by the way. It is incredible. Anyone who's not seen it, I think it's my new favourite.
Me too!
Like, I was obsessed with Tangled for like years. And now I'm just like, this is the best movie ever.
I came out, I actually went with my mum, but I came out and was like, I have no notes. It was flawless. Yeah. I don't want to do any spoilers, but just the casting, the music, the cut, like it was just so colourful and joyful. I loved it.
Do you know why the music was so good? It was by
Lin-Manuel Miranda,
who also did Hamilton, I believe, and
he did In the Heights. He did Moana. He does a lot of Disney stuff.
Basically, he is incredible.
My mum's obsessed with him.
He is so good, and I realised afterwards, whilst I was watching the credits, I was like, this is why it's so good. But
anyway,
so I went on my solo date with myself. I went to the cinema and I was like, yes, it was a bit of a cop out, but it was so lovely just to experience that by myself, where if I'd gone with like on a first date with a guy or like whoever, it would have been like, maybe they wouldn't have wanted to see Little Mermaid or like they wouldn't have wanted like certain things, but it was so nice to go and do something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know how to explain it, but like taking that time out for yourself and doing what you really want to do is so important because you really, really will value that in future, in later, that you don't have to rely on, like you said before, like you don't have to rely on someone else for what you want in life.
Yeah, and I think that where we're at now in our life, in our early 20s, both single, we don't have any like attachments. We can go off and do, for the most part, we can go off and do whatever we want to do without having to compromise. We don't have to wait for anyone, which is a wonderful position to be in. And I really hope that like everyone can kind of get to that point with themselves where they're comfortable spending time on their own, because there's so much value in it.
I also don't think you have to be, because like Alice mentioned, we're both single, but you don't have to necessarily be single to experience this. Like I've got a lot of friends who are in like committed relationships for years, but they do a lot of things by themselves or go out with their friends, and they don't have to be with their partner or with someone all the time. Like you don't necessarily have to be single or like not, like you don't have to be not in a relationship in order to do this. You can also go out and just have like spend time by yourself. And I think if anything, when you are in a relationship or when you're kind of depending on someone for a lot of certain things, it's almost more important
definitely.
to take the time for yourself. Because I know in previous relationships, I've put so much dependence on someone else, and it's just not been healthy for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I tend to, like, well, in previous relationships, I've kind of lost myself a little bit. And when I come out and like I'm single again, I kind of rediscover who I am and like get to know myself more. I feel like, there's so much value in being single, but that's almost a nuanced episode in itself. Like we said, you don't have to be single to date yourself. It's so important to have like healthy space from your partner if you're in a relationship, and to be able to go off and do your own separate things, because you're not the same person as your partner. You have to have that difference and that room to grow separately alongside each other. Is super important as well.
For sure.
Is there anything else we want to talk about?
If you want to get like time away and spend time with yourself, what would you say are like the key points? I know for me personally is, like I said at the very beginning, like not getting in your own head about it. Like wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, just not being so thought up in the fact like, oh, are people watching me that I'm here on my own? Like, oh, I really want to go to this gallery or a museum, but oh my gosh, are people going to think? Don't give a bleep about what people are going to think, because like they're 99% of the time they're not even going to notice you. Like I know on the tube I get bumped into a lot as if I'm not even there. And it's like people are not going to notice you. So like, and if they do think about you, they're going to think about you for maybe 10 seconds, 5 seconds of their day, and then they're going to move on.
Exactly,
like it's really not that big of a deal. So why are you making it such a huge thing in your head? Like that is my probably key thing, because I know that was such a big thing for me when I was first like doing, like when I went to the cinema, I was as I was walking there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really like quite a big thing for me. Like, and I think that's my number one tip.
Yeah, I think it's called like the spotlight effect. Like everyone thinks that everyone else is focusing on them, but actually everyone's just focused on themselves. Like you're not the main character in their life.
Like everyone else the main is thinking about their own life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's natural to have those thoughts, but just to sort of observe them and say, you know what? I don't have to listen to those thoughts. I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm going to go out and live my best life regardless of what my mind is telling me and about, or get out. Because your mind's just trying to keep you safe. It keep you in your comfort zone, isn't it?
Keep you in the comfort zone. Keep you grounded to where there's like no room for growth and things like that. It's trying to keep you safe, but in reality, sometimes it's not what's best for you.
My dad always says, ships are safe in the harbour, but that's not what they were built for.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Oh my gosh, that's such...
Get out of your comfort zone, kiddos.
Yes, I love it. Any other tips? Any other tips and tricks for...
I would say romanticize it to the max. Like,
oh yeah.
If you're...
that main character.
Yeah, big time. Like, if you decide, okay, I'm going to take this evening as a solo date evening, whether that's staying in, going out, whatever... Plan it. Don't just sort of say, oh, I've got this evening to myself, I'm just going to chill. Like, or I'm just going to scroll on Instagram.
Just sit and watch Netflix and binge watch the whole of Selling Sunset. Get really specific about what you want to do. Like something you really want in your life. Like you went to Lisbon. I wanted to go watch The Little Mermaid. And I think that's so important to like really take that time out to know what it is that you're trying to get out of that solo experience. Like if you're going somewhere, what are you trying to achieve?
What's the goal here? Like every solo date is a good opportunity to get to know yourself a little bit deeper, getting really clear and writing out your intentions, whether that's on your phone or whatever, what you want to get out of it. Big tip is don't give up when it gets uncomfortable, because it is going to feel uncomfortable. It's normal, because we live in a society that is so rewarded on doing things in a couple or in a group or just not solo. Like certain hotels charge extra if you're staying in a hotel room on your own.
I did not know that.
Couple,
I thought you just pay for the room, like as a double. But
there is a single surcharge sometimes.
That is ridiculous. I'm sorry, that is so ridiculous. And I thought you just pay for the room regardless if it's double, like two people or one. Surely you would pay for like more people. Like that's I completely agree, and I know that's a thing.
It's crazy,
but it is stupid. Like surely you would have to pay for like one more person rather than it being like a. Anyway.
It's weird. But and like, I don't know, 2-for-1 cinema tickets, and everything is geared towards groups and couples. So it is going to feel odd when you're doing stuff on your own, but just know you're doing such a powerful thing for your personal growth. And notice the feelings when they come up, notice, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable now.
And push through it.
And yeah, acknowledge it, say, this is so normal, this is so okay and natural.
And this is how
I'm not going to give up at this point. Yeah.
This is how my brain is going to react. Like, your brain will react and think like, oh gosh, I'm seeing these two couples here. And that's awkward because I'm on my own. But you're going to react that way, and then pushing through that discomfort is where you're going to get to know yourself better.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're going to be at the better stage of your life.
You will feel so proud of yourself when you've done it as well. And it will get easier every single time. Yeah. Like, the first time you do it will feel the most uncomfortable. And then that is the point. From then on, it's not going to ever feel that uncomfortable again because you're going to start to like train that muscle of sitting with the discomfort.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's and you can almost take that into a lot of different aspects of your life. Like, if you start with like when you're solo dating yourself, when you're being on your own, but you will get more comfortable in presenting yourself. Say, for example, at work situations. I know for me, when I first started my job, I was awful at talking to people in meetings, on Zoom meetings. I would get freaked out. It would be horrible. But training that muscle, like, I have a call now pretty much every single day where I have to talk to people and explain stuff to them. But now I'm getting so much better at that, and it's about training that muscle. So obviously when you're sat with yourself and you're feeling uncomfortable, like you said, the first time is always going to be the weirdest. Like with this podcast.
Yeah, we literally said, we were like, it will never feel this uncomfortable ever again.
It's never going to feel this weird. Like, we're sat here with the kind of like, if you could see around us, like, we're sat here with like a laptop, a mic that is about this big. I'm not even sure if it's picking up our audio.
I sure hope so.
But we are just here, and we wanted to do this. We wanted to make this podcast for us to be more comfortable, but also to help other people be more comfortable in their day-to-day life, and push kind of through, like you said, push through that discomfort, be in that positive headspace.
That's where you grow, outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know what? I think this has gone really well for our first episode.
I do think. I think we've done pretty well. I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was very off the cuff, very crazy, very more of like a splurring out our thoughts. But I feel like that's what people love. I hope you guys loved that. I hope people loved it. And I mean, if you want to come back for some more episodes. We're all here about the wellness. We're all here to help you flourish and thrive.
Yeah, we are. We're all on this journey of leveling up together, and I'm so grateful that you guys took the time to tune in to episode 1 of Flourish and Thrive, and I've had a really good time. I don't know about you.
I had a really good time too. And if you want to be notified about any of our upcoming episodes and when we're going to post, follow us on Flourish and Thrive Pod on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube, and we will be over there. And get us in the DMs, like slide into our DMs and let us know what you want us to talk about, because like Alice said, we are here on this journey together. We want to help you be the best version of you, and let's all flourish and thrive together.
Yes. Well said.
Nice.
Okay, thank you.
Guys.
Bye guys.